are, ladies and gentlemen. In the top left-hand corner, we have our purple Zerg player from the team MVP wearing the tag monster. It is, in fact, Dongregu. His opponent down here in the bottom right-hand corner is our red Zerg player from Team Liquid, the venerable Rhett.
I really want to know what Rhett's going to go for, man. I mean, he's the drone king. We all know that. I mean, that's what he's been known for a couple of years. But he's been playing a lot of the Heart of Swarm from what I've been seeing lately whenever he's streaming or anything. And also the NASL Caster Bash where they all played Rhett and the casters, and Greetorp actually wound up beating him. But it looks like he's really focusing on Heart of Swarm because he played a lot of strategies that were Hydra Swarm host based that were really, really cool, like Viper play. Unfortunately, you don't have those kind of strats available to you in Wings of Liberty, so I just want to know what he's going to play and what his style is going to look for, because this is DRG, man. You can't play around with him.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, we're talking about one of the very best players in the world right now. Yeah. A guy who's won a GSL championship, a guy who's been a Team League star for multiple years for this team. He is, he's godlike. And not to say that Rhett won't be able to find a strategy to beat him, but Rhett certainly needs to bring his A game.
Yeah, certainly. So we'll see what the plan is here. Of course, DRG did open with a 15 hatchery last game and managed to win the game overall. So we'll not be doing that this route, though, and it looks like Rhett will be opening with a 15 pool as well. So very safe openings for both players. DRG's a little bit on the afraid side that potentially Liquid might want to cheese him out because we saw TLO do it last time, so that's why it's opening a bit safer.
All right, so... yeah, I mean, certainly going to be safe against any sort of cheese. Still going to be almost as economical, too. I mean, you're really only talking about a minor disadvantage in economy against a player who's going to hatch first to begin with. I mean, you mostly get the benefit in other places.
Yeah, you lose like 2 drones.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. Like, it's seriously not a big deficit whatsoever. I go 15 pool all the time unless I'm going against Terran. Then I go 15 hatchery. Unless you're playing Heart of the Swarm. You don't want to do that there. As actually, you'll see after this game, you're going to see Lucifer's interview. He was talking about TVZ and Heart of the Swarm and how you can't go 15 hatchery anymore. How
much, just out of curiosity, do you love Hellbat drops is the question.
I love them as much as I hate love handles. I hate my love handles. Yeah. Well, guys, the game is now starting to progress out. We're going to have hatcheries a little bit over halfway done. Falling into gas here for DRG. We're moving into speed. Nothing quite yet from Rhett. Should be getting his gas up pretty soon here. You really need your speed in ZVZ. You can't really delay it too long, or you will get picked apart. It's just you'll push out maybe with a heavy roach force or anything, and Lings will run to your main and just straight up kill you. And you need some kind of defensive capabilities with speed Lings yourself, or you will get picked apart. All
right. Well, certainly no gas yet, and I'm on the same page as you. I'm a little bit surprised we haven't seen anything quite along those lines, but it is Rhett. I mean, the man loves to drone up, get his economy in check, things like that. Maybe we're going to see a third queen here in just a second. You're certainly going to need something now because you sacrifice that much of time in your speed. Because as you can see, Dongregu is now 70 gas in. Rhett hasn't even started an extractor.
There is a 3 queen strategy. It's pretty strong against Mutaplay. You open up with 3 queens, and then from there you're able to drone up. You just don't get your gases, and that's where you kind of trade off. You don't get your speed, but you get extra queens out. And the whole idea behind it is that you're able to defend against mutas because you're going to have transducers available, and also going to have queens maneuvering back and forth between your main and natural pretty easily. So there potentially could be that strat for Rhett. Again, queens are really good in defensive capabilities, and it just means he can't push out really until he does get speed on the field.
Crazy stuff, though. Dongregu going for that defensive bailing nest, of course, but no speed on the way. There finally started at about the 5:15 mark, but of course his opponent is still really lacking as far as anything to do with gas goes. First couple of extractors coming up right now. Dongregu gets a great scout. Oh, and he's importantly going to see that no gas was taken whatsoever. He saw both the extractors coming up in the natural, sees no gas inside of the main.
All right, so behind this, DRG realizes, okay, no aggressive strategies can come my way whatsoever. I'm just going to drone up. You see him immediately queue up 7 drones. At the same time, Rhett gets a spine collar down, because his opponent getting a full scout on to his main and natural could queue up some kind of aggression coming towards you. And he only has 1 overlord. It's outside of the natural and the main. So that's the real point behind the spine collar that Rhett's put down, just because he can't really do anything, and he has no idea what's coming his way either. So now he's kind of forced to play safe. But because he got a lot of drones out, he can afford to do so.
Yeah, that's right. And he is going double evolution chamber right now, so his gas not going to be expended into speed immediately. He does have that 100 gas required. Also has enough to go up in the layer here in just a moment if he wants to try and chug it down that line. As we can tell, though, he is droning away. This is what he does. He's at a significant drone advantage to his opponent. He has a nice wall up at the front that's certainly going to help him defend against quite a bit of stuff. And he has that Roach Horn in play already, so he's going to be moving into his little bit later tech a bit earlier on than Dongregu is. Dongregu actually going to get for layer right now, though, and we'll see if what route he decides to go.
Donregu putting a little bit of aggression on here. He's got a nice amount of lanes outside of the natural, but to be honest with you, Red's actually in a really good position now because he got that wall up, and he has the roach worn out, and he has 2 queens standing behind there. It's going to take a majority of a good amount of banelings to even break through that queen wall if need be. And look at the energy starting to queue up. He's already got transfuses available. He has a queen in the back here. She's going to have a transfusible available if that queen does get low on health, bringing the 3rd queen at the same time. There's no way that DRG can break this wall.
Yeah, I mean, unless he wanted to all in on Banelings and just try and bust through the evolution chambers, which would have gotten him promptly killed. As it stands now, though, Dongagu's on 4 gas. His layer tech is about to finish. We already see he's going down the Roach Infestor route, though, because his Roach Horn's well on the way. The +1 missile attacks is coming up, too. And Rhett is planning on going for a 3rd base here, hopefully soon, as he powers on his own layer tech with his own +1 weapons. The advantage, of course, for him, though, is that he's got +1 Carapace coming up alongside that. He will be ahead on upgrades.
I'm curious if Red's going for Roach Hydra, actually, because one is built in Hydra and Heart of the Swarm, so maybe he finds that Hydra's actually pretty good. And they're essentially the same unit, actually, in Wings of Liberty, just they don't have the speed advantage with that upgrade. So he could go for that, because he does have 3rd and 4th gas on the way at the same time. So he's going to have a lot of gas floating if he sticks with just pure Roach. So I really think he's going to go for Roach Hydra. And if you do that and you're able to secure a 3rd, and you're able to defend for a good 3 to 4 minutes, suddenly you get really, really strong as your upgrades finish up, and you have a really nice, strong front line with Roaches.
All right, well, here comes a drone to put down a 3rd base. No such 3rd base has been placed for Okay, actually, coming down at the same time, hasn't been placed yet, but there it goes. So both players are going to be pretty even in that regard. Oh, nice job of Dongagu ducking in with those speedlings and actually getting a little bit of damage done, and sneaks into the main at the same time. Could have killed the queen on the way out, but decides to grab this one inside of the main instead, and takes a few of his links, starts running into the mineral line as well and picking off drones. Really nice stuff.
Yeah, this is the power of speedlings. Look how Red's trying to catch up with these speedlings, but he can't because he has slow roaches, he has slow links, and they're able to dart around, pick off drones here and there, pick off a queen. He's going to lose 2 queens, maybe? No, just barely saving that one as well. But again, that's the power there. You got to be very, very careful when you're going for this style of not having your upgrades available until later on in the game.
Now, Rhett is certainly going to have decent upgrades, even though his opponent is going to be on +1 weapons like he is. Of course, he'll have that +1 Carapace, going for +2, going to have Burrow, going to have Roach Speed, everything he needs. But of course, the big advantage that Dongagu is carrying, that earlier 3rd base for 1, and 2, his Infestors are popping right now.
Alrighty, so we'll see if DRG can hold this. He's trying to poke around, trying to slow down Rhett into him going straight for that 3rd, as more Roaches do pop out. Does get a nice little area here in the top right corner, actually sacrificing a Roach, not paying attention to that one. Bad rally, unfortunately, but the Infestors do pop out. A Fungal has been landed on a majority of those Roaches, and DRG is going to start defending.
Yeah, and look how much damage those Fungal Growths output there, even with the upgrade disadvantage. Rhett's still losing a lot of stuff up here at the front, and he has to contend with the fact that Dongagu has the shorter reinforcement distance, too, so he's able to make up that distance quite a bit faster. And now Rhett has to turn tail and run away as his Roaches are getting picked off one by one.
Really strong defense there from DRG. He just waited around, just waited a few seconds, wait for the Infestors to pop out, and he also prevented Rhett from committing to attacking that 3rd just by poking like he wanted to engage. And Rhett sees it as, oh, this is an engagement that I can win, so I actually do want to fight it. So he kept like teetering back and forth, and DRG's used that to his advantage completely.
All right, so let's take stock of everything after all is said and done. 2-2 upgrades on the way for Rhett. That +2 Carapace just started a second ago. Rhett is actually behind in Roaches, 21 to 18. And we see Dongagu with those 2 Infestors on the field with a 3rd on the way. That is a pretty good advantage for him, too. But, of course, the real plus is that he had the space done a little bit quicker. He was able to utilize the production a little bit faster, and he's already shifted over some drones and finished up 2 additional gas.
Alrighty, so we'll see what the plan is for Red. Again, just to start running up now and moving into his infestation pit. And from here, really, you can't do too much unless you get a huge force popping out. And both players are sitting around like 130 to 120, trying to just get upgrades and trying to get nice and dried up and set up for the late game. As DRG keeps adding more infestors on, Red will have to try and catch up into his infestor count at the same time. Just luckily, he'll have that extra upgrade available because he did go for the double evolution chamber. But again, with infestors, it kind of nullifies that Carapace upgrade.
That's absolutely right, as the infestor count. We'll see how much Rhett gets up to here in a bit. I mean, he is mining off of 6 gas right now. His Pathogenic Glands are started, and you can see that he's going to save up a fair bit of gas before this actually happens if he doesn't invest too much into his roaches for now. But of course, he kind of needs those because that's where his upgrade advantage is at, so it's kind of a catch-22 for him. Do you catch up in infestors, or do you sacrifice the overall roach count and nullify part of your upgrades?
DRG looking like he wants to get a little bit of aggression on. He did kill off a few overlords in the middle of the map and actually supply blocked Red for a little bit. So trying to find, maybe I have an opportunity to pop in. Unfortunately, you can't get a tab on the full amount of roaches available for Rhett. Rhett kept a couple of them in the natural while that scout came into that third, so I only saw about half of them. At the same time, we have a macro hatch on the way for Rhett, which will allow him, if you want to get aggression on, to fall up and do just a nice amount of units over and over and over again. As he gets low on gas, pop out lings. And same time for DRG. He's actually expanding to his fourth instead of getting a macro hatch.
That's right. So he's going to try and take that risk on a little bit extra economy. Rhett, on the other hand, starting to produce his infestors. That's going to be his first for that pop-up right now. And where's that going to put him in overall count? It's going to be 4-7, actually 4-9. So a significant advantage for Dongrigu, who is also carrying quite an advantage in overall roach count, too. So those upgrades, while certainly going to make a big difference if Rhett gets the best positioning that he possibly can, are largely nullified, as we mentioned before. But now he's actually caught in kind of a bad position, trying to split up his forces into a big concave, but everything's caught up at the front. Better concave does go to Rhett. However, due to the sheer number of forces from Dongrigu, he's able to sweep around the side and start winning that portion of the engagement while fungling everything that's on the right, and he reinforces from the top at the same time. So now all these units are trapped for Rhett, and this is a disaster for him.
Yeah, really unfortunate positioning there for Rhett, and DRG just crushing him now, and the roach count plummeting in supply, 190 to 127, Kevin. And the majority of that is actually on its way out now. 18 roaches has been queued up for DRG, while the main for Rhett, while the main army is actually at his third at the same time. DRG is just pushing.
Yeah, so despite the better reinforcement distance, there's already infested Terrans down to help add in some DPS. The spine crawlers have disappeared, and now the economy is under fire. Oh, and a fresh infestor gets picked off from the side. That's going to be it. Rhett taps out, and it's a 2-1 advantage now for MVP.
I don't know the ropes a little bit there. The strategy is a little bit on the weeder side. I know he prefers to have a nice amount of drones out on the earlier side, but in ZVZ, you can't delay your speed that long. We saw just, what was it, like 15 lings that came into the main. They were able to book off a queen, book off 3 drones, as well as almost get a second queen at the same time.
Yeah.
And you just can't allow for that to happen. You gotta play very defensively and make sure there's no holes in anywhere at your natural, like there was with that big rock he killed off, but he had no units there to stop that from the ling run by from happening.
All right, guys. Well, that's 3 games in the bag, and unfortunately, as it is 2-1, that does mean that Team Liquid will not be able to make it into the playoffs for the Premier Division. They will be fighting through the up and downs. However, we're still going to play out this match to see where MVP is going to fall, because there's still Coronte that's around the corner, and if MVP finishes with a great record here, it's going to be no problem for them to lock in that second place. But of course, they would still have to win. So let's see here what's